Hello everyone, this is Mr. Dennis, test coordinator, and this will be our MAP growth test administration training for 2019-2020. This training is primarily for all English 9 and 10th grade teachers. So please review this information. A couple of things just to be aware of. The reason why I'm using the video this particular time as opposed to face-to-face, this training is a little longer than usual based on some of the new features of the MAP test. So please take the opportunity and the time to view the entire video. In addition to that, I'm also sending you a test attendance link. It's a Google form to verify you actually that you did review the video. In addition to that, the COMAR signing sheet based on test security will be in your mailboxes. I'm going to ask you to sign that, and please place that back into my mailbox. Okay, so that's pretty much how that's going to go. That will verify our training. All right, so a couple of things we're going to talk about. So pretty much today's agenda, we're going to talk about the update of new features that are on the new MAP growth or the MAP growth test, the test administration window. We're going to talk about technology readiness, which is something I want to inform people about, reviewing and creating test sessions and makeup test sessions. We'll also talk about, and lastly, test security. Okay, so the MAP growth, again, remember, the MAP growth test is for English 9th and 10th graders, and you're going to use the MAP growth 6+. And that's going to feature literature, information text, and vocabulary. Okay, so those are 3 areas that your students will be tested on. Okay. This should look familiar to most of you who have administered the MAP growth test. This is the home page for the MAP growth test, and we'll talk about that. I'm going to actually go live to show you what I want you to do as opposed to some of the screenshots here we'll talk about, okay? So about test window, the test window for our fall session will be starting September 9th, but it ends on the 27th. There are no extensions, okay? There's a makeup test window September 30th to October 1st, but primarily I want to use that for those students who haven't shown up, and we'll talk about what that looks like. But September 27th is the final date for testing, okay? That's what we're going to do primarily. The winter session begins in January, and our spring session begins in May. There are 3 test sessions, and we want to do our best to make sure all of our students take all 3 administrations. This will help with the accuracy of score. This will also help give you and the district better data on our students' growth, progress. All right, participation. Again, English 9th, 10th grade teachers, your students will be tested. That is all 9th and 10th grade students. English learners, those students who are target enrolled in 9th and 10th, the ESOL Intermediate and ESOL Advanced. Once again, those students who are enrolled in 9th or 10th grade classes, which those students are intermediate and advanced, okay? So English learners and 11th and 12th graders who are enrolled in English 10, you are exempt. Once again, those students who are in English, those students who are 11th to 12th graders in those same classes, you are exempt. And also newcomers are also exempt. They should not be testing as well, okay? So go back about students. So you may have some students who may not be enrolled. Students need to be appropriately enrolled in SchoolMax in order to be on your roster. So you may have students who are not on your roster who obviously can't test because you won't be able to test them. In that regard, any new or additional students will take, it takes 24 to 48 from when they are enrolled in SchoolMax. Okay, so could take a couple of days. So if there are any students, please let me know. That way we can admit their names and get them in before the test window closes. Okay, so updates for the fall. Here's some of the new updates. Okay, so there's a new thing called test engagement. What has happened in the past, we have students who have been just clicking on through real fast just to get it over with. Students who are just, students who may lay their head down, and after a certain amount of time, the test becomes inactive. Well, they've done their best to try to improve this. So students will receive a message now at the start of the test encouraging them to remain engaged. So if a student stops being engaged, a message will pop up to remind them, look, it's time to continue to be engaged, okay? Also, tests will auto pause. The test will also pause when that happens, okay? And the proctor will be notified when the student is becoming disengaged. So once again, it pops up for the student, but it also pops up for the administrator, and I'll show you what that looks like shortly. Okay, so at that point, teacher, you can go over to that student, say what's going on, get back on task, and then the student has the ability to start the test, and also the teacher does too, and I'll show you that in a minute. The student's profile and grade breakdown report will continue to display the percent of questions rapid guessed for each student. So I'll talk about that. The test history search in order to find students in need of makeup due to rapid guessing. So if the students are rapidly guessing, a display will pop up also about a percentage, show you a percentage of how many students rapidly guessed. Okay, we also talk about that test will also be invalidated. Okay, and I'll show you that. So you look at the bottom here, you'll see what the report would look like. Okay, test status, and then I'll tell you about test engagement. See, it says reach rapid guessing threshold of 30%. So there's a percentage. So if a student, for example, does rapid guessing 3 or 4 times in a row, you know, that sign will pop up, but it'll also tell you as the administrator that's happening as well. Okay, there are new type of reports for the map growth. I'm going to explain that in another video. This is just for the administration of the video, but in terms of how to access proper reports and different kind of reports, we'll talk about that. There are new type of reports, and I'm going to go past this real quickly. Okay, so preparing the students. So here's a couple of things first before I would recommend you do if you haven't done it already. There is a way to have a students do a practice test. You know, maybe you want to do this on the next administration as opposed to the first one, just to maybe the first one, get that raw data for the fall and see where they are. You know, who knows? But we have the ability for students to actually practice the test. So at this address here, if students can go to this address, those teachers who may have, who has the map growth application, that's whether it be on Chromebooks or the iPads. I'll talk about that shortly too. But you can go to this website where it says student resources. This also says it on the map R application. If you open the map R application, at the bottom it says student resources. You click on that and you'll see this where it says map growth. Okay, and then you have the students, the practice test, you have the ability to practice test and look at the resources that are here. That's for students prior to the test in case you just wanted to give students some practice. Okay, remember we talked about student engagement, about this new feature that happened. So here we go. So the feature itself, students' response is flagged, like I said before, and it is when they're disengaged or not responding. The map growth test will automatically pause when a student rapidly guesses multiple questions. So please make sure you tell your students this too before you take the test, so they'll know also, like, you know, you just can't speed through this. You have to really take the time out, okay, to really read the questions and the information that's provided to them. Okay, so the test will auto pause up to 3 times during the test. Okay, so a student rapidly clicks for 3 times, for example, it'll automatically pause the test. Okay, after automatically pausing, proctor intervenes, as I stated before. At that point, the proctor can go ahead and have that conversation with the student and get them going. All right, so here's a screenshot of what the administrator will see on their computer. Okay, I'll show you that live shortly. But for example, those who remember when you log in, you go through the process. Here's the menu board where you see the username, the student will use, the password, a number of students, PDF. Here it says, look at it, it says proctor, okay, and it also says pause at the right hand, rapidly pause. It shows you if you hit that drop down menu, it'll show you the name of the students where they rapidly pause. Okay, so what you do is once you've talked to them, got them straight, you, the teacher, give them this code, and they'll start the test again, or you, the teacher, have the power to also get them going. Okay. All right. So so you'll see you seem to be answering quickly. This is what the student will see on their computer if they've rushed. Okay. At the bottom it says resume the test using the pen. That's the pen I showed you earlier. Okay. So that's a great feature. Here's that pen again. Okay. Another review of that as well. If you hit that drop down menu, it'll tell you how many students. Rapidly guessing alerts will come up, and you, the teacher, can make the correction. Remember I talked about if the students continually test rapidly, even though they go through that test and you start them, and if they pause, you start them again. If they continue it too often, it will invalidate their test. Okay, the test will be invalidated. You'll know that because you won't know that. You will not know that you, the teacher, until they have completed the test, and then do the reports that you can look up. You'll see on the reports where see the names. Look at the left hand side here. If you look where it's highlighted, that's in real light gray. You can't see that, but that student is invalidated. Okay, the student once again is invalidated, meaning the test really doesn't count towards the score at all. All right, here's a great example of what has happened in terms of student averages throughout our district. This is what happens nationally. Okay, so let's look at 9th and 10th grade. So nationally, these are the percentages for student averages for scoring. And here's also evaluations. Here's what happens in our PG County. Okay, that's a lot of that information there. Accommodations. All right, so accommodations are pretty simple in the sense of if there are students in your class who receive accommodations, for example, extended time and that kind of stuff, those students should receive the information based on their IEP. So please make sure there are no particular features that are in the test itself, but you know that you, the teacher, should know what those accommodations are. Just make sure they're provided. Map Growth offers accessibility features similar to MCAT and or state tests. So meaning same kind of features that are in our state tests, those students should still receive. Extended time, small groups, that kind of thing, those kind of things. And we'll talk about that too. And like I said, extended time I just mentioned. Okay, so in addition to that, there are embedded universal features on the toolbar though, okay? But that's pretty much primarily for all our students. If you see, there's a magnifier here, there's a highlighter, there's an eraser, there's a note pen, and those kind of features every student has access to. All right, tech readiness, I'm going to quickly talk about. So again, there are Chromebooks for English teachers. Not every English teacher received the Chromebook at this time, but there's also iPads. So please share. If you do not have an iPad card, or you do not have a Chromebook card, please share with your neighbor, see your other teachers. Also see Ms. Gilbert in the Media Center. You may be able to use G120. The other computer labs are no longer available because they're being used as classrooms. Okay, tech readiness. So there's a generic login, and that's really what we can do. That's really unimportant, actually. We're not going to deal with that. I'm not going to deal with that either because all of our technology is up and running for the MapR, so you should be good to go. If there's any issues with your technology, something's not working, please let me know, and myself and Mr. Mines will help rectify the problem. All right. Test sessions. There's a couple of things. This is very, very important for teachers. We're going to go through what this looks like, and some of the new ways in which now you, as the teacher, can test. Some great ways, and I'll explain it really quickly, but please make sure you follow along with me or listen very carefully. Now, what's a test session? So the test session, those who've administered maybe the MCAT before or the HSA, they're very different for the MapR test. The MapR test session really has nothing to do with the actual outcome of a score. So for example, if I was in an MCAP, if I was taking an MCAP test and I was taking the HSA test and I somehow deleted a session, all of that information is deleted. That's not the case with the MAP-R test, okay? So the test sessions are very flexible. They're separate from reports. That means the scores. The data follows child, not the session. That's very important, and I'll talk about that. And only one person can be logged in at a time. We're going to talk about that as well. Okay. Now here's a feature: Test My Class, which is something. This is a great feature I want you to know, to understand. And then the STC must create test sessions for students needed to make up, which we're also going to do. So at the end or towards the end of the test sessions, if there's any students who need to make up a test and they have been absent or they couldn't make the test up, I'm going to provide some days of making tests with those students if they come to school, and we can make up it that way as well. Okay. So how do you log in test sessions? I'm going to actually take you through that myself. All right. So I'm going to exit out of this. Okay. So how do you do that? Let's do this live. So you'll go to your staff portal. Okay. You will click on applications. Okay. You will go down to where it says MAP measured progress, MAP-R. Now there's two links here. That's the MAP sign in and that's the MAP growth page. Okay. Let me show the math growth page real quickly. Okay. Okay, so once you go here, this is the MAP growth resource site, meaning all of the information that you would need for the MAP growth test is here. Applications, so it's generic logins for the MAP. This is for those if you needed to get into username and password. Practice test logins so this will offer practice tests. Okay, if you're going to use practice tests. All right, troubleshooting tips. These are our tips here. And there are links below and information below to help you log into and get those resources that I'll also provide for you. Okay. All right, let's go back. So let's go back to staff portal, applications. We're going to go to MAP measure progress, and then we're going to go to MAP sign in. You go to MAP sign in, and your PGCPS credentials should pop up. Once you do that, hit submit it, and then here's the home page of the MAP-R test, you the administrator. So before your students come in, what you're going to do is you're going to go where it says manage test sessions. Okay. Click on test sessions. Okay. Now once again, my site would look a little differently because I have administrative rights to all of the teachers, the district as a whole. You yourself as a teacher should have only access to your students unless you've been granted additional access. For example, there are special education teachers who have students in different classes, so you may have the same kind of access in terms of more students or access to all students. But the average English and 9th grade teacher should have access to just their target students that's based on school max. All right, so you remember you manage test sessions, you'll click on find students. Okay. All right, and your students should pop up, but here I'm going to do something different. I'm going to get to our students, so I'm going to go to Northwestern High School. Remember, this is not for you necessarily unless you have access like I have. You'll go to Northwestern High School, all grades. I'll do all grades. Let's do teacher. I'll just choose a teacher. Okay, I'll use Miss Adams. All right, so once you have found yourself, you'll hit search or you hit find students now, and then your students should pop up like this. Okay, now here's what you're going to do. Once you have your group, okay, you're going to where it says you found your students, you're going to add students. Okay, and then all your students are listed below. Okay, now you have an option, and I'll talk about that in a minute. I'll go back in a minute. But this is the best way because we're going to talk about the most probably easiest way to administer this test. You can administer them in test sessions. That means you can create a test session for each one of your sections of your class, or you can test them as a whole group, meaning the students that come in. all your students, okay? So let's just go this first. I'm gonna click on all students, and now I've highlighted all of the students that I've added, okay? Then I'll go to where it says assign a test. It's the first button. Click on assign a test, okay? You hit the drop down menu, and the only test that you're gonna use is the +6, okay? That's the middle one, the +6, assign, okay? If you have students that have accommodations, you can click on accommodations, which is not really important anymore. We'll stop using that really because there's no need to assign accommodations. You, your teacher, must know if your student has an IEP and you assign them those accommodations, okay? Okay, and you can remove students from lists and literally just, click on, take it all off or erase it all together. Okay, so now once you have done that, once you have the students you want, we'll go down to the bottom and you can here's where your option is, okay? You can test now or you can save for later. You save for later, that's when you create now the session you want for later. You don't have to. And this is what I'm recommending. A lot of you don't have to do what we've done in the past. Okay, we can do this. Let's go to test now. This is where I think all teachers, this is probably the best way to do it. Test now. That means all of your students, you probably have a list of all your students that are here. Okay. All right. And so what you're going to do once you are here, now you're ready for your students. Okay. When your students come in, you're going to give them the Chromebooks. You're going to give them the iPad cards. Remember very carefully, Chromebooks a little differently. Please, if you're using Chromebooks, do not have the students log in using their PGCPS. Just tell them to lift up the Chromebook, okay, when they get to the desktop. And at the bottom of that desktop, it says apps. They click on apps, and then they'll see NWA, they'll see MapGrowth, and they click on that. Do not sign in. If they sign in the Chromebook cards, they will not see the application. Okay, and easy iPad cards, you just find the NEA or NWEA rather, the MapGrowth app, and then they go ahead. It's all yellow and black, and they get there. Okay, so once they've done that, once they have opened the application, okay, you're going to give them this code up top here. These codes, because there's a code that's will always be created for you. Okay, you're going to give them the code. You're going to give them the password. Okay, and then where it says awaiting students, that will change once they start to log in. It'll say to be confirmed. Okay, and it'll take the students through a series of pages. Students will use this to log in. Use the username password to get in the test. They'll find their name. This drop-down menu to find their name. We'll go back to that too. I'll show you that too. Once they have logged in though, and they've gone and found their name and submitted that process, you'll see where it says that waiting student, it will change to be confirmed. Okay, and I'll show you that in a minute as well. But I want to show you the live site here. Okay. Now let's say you have started your test. Students have signed in. You see to be confirmed. When you see to be confirmed, you just hit up top confirm. This word confirm here. Okay, and it should. Well, I'll go back. You go and you highlight all of your students, or then you say confirm first because it's going to automatically confirm them. But you can go individually. This happened last year. Happens every year for some reason. It takes a long time for the computer to go through the process of confirming at times. So you can highlight the name, then hit the drop-down menu here where it says select action, and just confirm. Okay. So again, as a whole, when it says to be confirmed, just hit the confirm. It'll start confirming students, and then you'll see students where it says testing, test beginning, or testing. Student says testing rather. But if it's taking long, highlight the name, select action, confirm. Okay. All right. So here we go. The test itself should take no more than 50 minutes. Matter of fact, let me go back. I just remember what I did wrong. Let me show you something really quick. This is the average time. This is what I meant to say, the average duration time of the test. Okay, so the average time for students taking the test nationally is 57 minutes. PG, the average time for our students in 9th and 10th grade is 67 minutes average. So realistically, a student with non-accommodations, technically, if we started on time, could finish the test in one session. However, it usually takes 2, sometimes 3. That's why we have this window, okay? That's why we have the window. All right, so that's important to know. All right, so let's say you ran out of time though, and you want to begin tomorrow, or remember, you may have another class coming in. So remember, I told you before that you only can be logged into one session at a time. You cannot just minimize this and then go and start a new one. It's not going to work. It won't let you in. You have to exit out of this test. Okay? So here's some great stuff that I have learned that's a great thing to do. Okay? That's easier now than before. Remember we said before that the test session is not connected really to the test reports or test scores. Okay? So when these students are taking the test, they're not necessarily taking the session. They're taking it in the session, but those scores are going someplace else. So you, the teacher now, when it's time to exit the test, when it's time to finish, it says end session now. Okay, you're going to end session now. Okay, that's whether the student is completed or not. You end the session, and here's the beauty of it that I love now. It says save and exit or delete session. Okay, now in the past we've saved the session, we created a name and gone back to that. You still can do that. You can save the session, and then I'll show you where you can go and find it. But what you also can do is you can delete the session. Okay, you can delete the session. Now, deleting the session, which I'm going to do right now, okay, takes you back here. But here's the beauty of it. It does not delete the student information at all. It saves it. So when you go back in again, let's say you're back the next day, find students, okay, and you go back to your session, find my session, same person, your same one. You won't see it now, the actual now, because obviously no students tested. But the beauty of this, which I just didn't know, but we know it now, Northwestern High School, we'll do, okay, so when I go back and find students and find now the same group I had yesterday, okay, same group. I'm gonna go right ahead. I'm gonna assign the test. Okay, 6, same thing I did before. I'm repeating the same action as before. Assign. Okay. Now, when I go to test now, I'm back again. Okay, but you may have a different username and a different password, but I'm told the same information. It will remember where they left off. Okay, it will remember where they left off. They do not start from the beginning because the session is not connected to the test. So the student will continue where they left off, and that way you don't have to necessarily save each session every time you go. Great, it's wonderful, it's much easier. Again, or like I said, you can in the test. Okay, you can see the name's already created for you, but if you're gonna save it, we're gonna do, you have to do InWest, and I'll make sure I make that known again. InWest. Sorry, InWest. Your name and the period, this class period. Let's say 1B, that you saved that. Save and exit. Also, no, forgot it can't be no spaces. No spaces. Forgot about that. InWest. Dennis. Oh, InWest. No. Dennis. Yeah. Sorry. InWest, comma Dennis. 1B. No spaces. Okay. And save for later. Okay. What did I do wrong? NOS Dennis B. Okay. Don't know what happened. What did I do? All right. Anyway, so we'll save it. Save list for later. Saved it. Okay, we'll change it later. Okay, so now it takes you back here. Now it says save test sessions. If you go down below, here's the test session we just saved. Okay, you can test now. This is for those who want to save their session. Okay, but again, remember, you don't have to do that, but you'll keep your same information in terms of the username and password. That's what happens. You keep the same username and password, but again, you do not, again, you can just test now, exit, and delete the session, come back the next day, and you can continue where you left off. All right, so that's pretty much how you administer the test in terms of that. Okay, now I'm almost done pretty much. Okay, so, and what I did, and I'm gonna send this PowerPoint to each one of you, just so you can see what I'm talking about, what I just went through actually. I just showed you manually what this this all looks like, okay? So this is what I wanted to see. Okay, so here's what I wanted to say. What I want you to see. This is what a student, when you log in, this is what you see, obviously, as the proctor screen, as the administrator. You'll see the username, password, and we talked about all that already. But also students, after students log in, this is what you see. All students will log in awaiting, you'll see it where it says awaiting student, okay? Like I told you before, okay? Then when a student is logged in, you'll see where it says to be confirmed, okay? When a student, another student says confirm, meaning they've been confirmed, they're ready to go, okay? Or you'll see it says testing. Okay, testing session password. This is what a student, so we talked before, your student is paused. You will wait until the proctor allows you to continue, okay? So this is if, we talked before, if a test is, if a test event needs to be paused, okay? Now, student, you may need to go to the cafeteria. Students, those teachers who have students for one portion of the class and then they go to lunch, you can pause the student's test as well, okay? So if it's just in a short period of time where you pause it, just hit pause, and then when they come back, you can hit resume, okay? All right. Suspend test sessions, meaning now these are for the situations for those teachers who wants to save that information. You're going to save that information, okay? If you're going to save that information, then you can suspend a student's test. Let's say they got sick, they went to the doctor, they're not coming back within those 30 minutes. You can suspend their test and then they can do again. Terminate should not be used when ending a test session, when ending testing sessions rather. This will permanently erase all student responses. Okay, so you should never terminate a student's test at all. Okay, that should never be one of your actions at all. Okay, remember, proctor test examiners can only be actively logged in at one time, as I stated before. Proctors must always select end test sessions once you're done testing. This will automatically suspend students who have not finished, okay? So ending it suspends their test automatically. It doesn't delete it, okay? Which is great, okay? Teachers using Test My Class can delete the session, okay? All right, so that's where we did all that, which I showed you earlier. Okay, now makeup sessions, again, I mentioned before. I'll deal with that, okay, in terms of students who need tests to be made up. This is not really important for you. I'll help you select that when the time comes. All right, last part, test security. Remember, you must sign that COMAR to verify you understand the test security that I'm about to explain to you, to verify you'll do your testing ethically within your class, meaning you're not providing help, which I'll talk about. First thing, test security, staff should be trained, which I'm doing now. May not assist or provide guidance to students taking the test. That's what you may not do. Teachers are not permitted to copy, discuss, or utilize questions. You must report all potential test security violations to the school test coordinator, which is me, meaning if you're taking that test, if a student has their cell phone out and their cell phone is using it, you must let me know immediately because I have to invalidate that test. Okay, we use the same test security, we use any test. Okay, you cannot have any electronic devices out while students are taking any test. That's primarily what the security breach would be. Okay, or for students obviously cheating, looking at another shooter, looking at someone else's test, that kind of thing. All right, all test incidents should be submitted to me, and I'll deal with that. That non-disclosure, which I told you about, will be in your mailbox. Okay. There is a test script that I'm going to provide for all of you. Okay, I'll send that to you as well. It's also, it'll be, I'll send it to you. The test script that you use, that you read verbatim to your students. That's all you have to do in terms of that, and then you time them. Monitor test sessions. The test examiner should monitor students by viewing their progress on the test examiner's test session screen. If students are moving too fast or disengaged, the system will inform the examiner. Test examiner should intervene and redirect the student. Test examiner should walk through the room to ensure students are engaged. The test examiner should verify all students are finished at the end of the session by verifying each student receives a score of this on the screen. Okay. At the end of the session, the student examiner should select end test session to close out the session. This will automatically suspend any students who have not finished. I love that feature. If test my class was used, the teacher may simply delete the session. The student's test will remain attached to the student profile, not the session. Okay, the retest policy, that's what I'll deal with that when retesting. Best practice for administrators, the staff ensures that students check their name when logged in. Okay, you're always checking it. Always confirm that this test session has the correct map growth session assigned. The proctor needs to monitor. For the student disengaged. So always check that out, teachers. Always be looking for that. Always suspend a test when entire class stops for a break. Okay, that means, or in for the day. Utilize resources of the map resource. Okay. And here are other resources that I'll give to you that you can check as well. All right, remember the map resource site is available to you, okay, on the map site. And there are parent resources for your parents as well. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me and let me know. Okay, thank you very much and happy testing.